as well as changes a couple other decks that use psyframes already, or psychic monsters. The biggest one that most people are talking about now is the Mech Knight Invoked. Now, usually they main deck Gammas and a driver in order to, because they go second, they can use it to stop their opponent. And if they open it up and, they play their field spell or desires or anything like that, they're able to stop your Ash or your Droll or your Ghost Bell or whatever with their Gamma. Well, they're also psychics, and they can trigger Lambda's effect with any of their banished monsters. So the big one that people are talking about was Purple Nightfall. So today I'm going to show you some of the engines that you can use to bring out psyframelord Lambda inside of psyframes, as well as show you some of the reasons why it's going to really change how psyframes play. So what he does is, as long as he's face up on the field, you're able to activate your psyframe monster's effects even while controlling a monster. Which, for most people, as they remember, psyframes all have pretty great effects. They're all hand traps that react to something your opponent does while you control no monsters. Their field spell then, when they summon, lets you synchro summon with them right away, which all their synchro monsters are able to remove themselves from the field, leaving your field open so you can activate more of their effects. However, it left you with a pretty big hole in your wall. If your opponent was able to play through your hand traps or give you some reason to keep a monster on board, it shut down the entire deck. So now with psyframelord Lambda, or psyframelord Lambda, you're able to play around that and even put monsters on boards with the intention of leaving them there to gain more advantage. It also has the second effect of, if a face-up psychic type monster leaves the field, while this card is face-up on the field, during your end phase, you can add any psyframe gear card from your deck to your hand. So it lets you search out more card advantage for your next turn. So there's a few different engines that I have found that I really like to use, and the first one is the Neospatian engine. So usually you'd play the one Rhoda, you'd play 3 copies of the Neospace Connector and 1 Neospatian Aqua Dolphin. And it's pretty self-explanatory. You can search Neospace Connector with the Rhoda. You would normal summon the Connector, use its effect to summon Aqua Dolphin. Aqua Dolphin's effect, then you can discard a card if you want, which can make the psyframe trap Overload live. So what it does is, when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it, except for the turn it was sent there, to search any psyframe card. So if this card's in your hand and you open up the Reinforcement of the Army, you can search your Connector, summon your Aqua Dolphin, use its effect to discard this, and maybe rip a card out of your opponent's hand. If not, get some insight on what they're playing. And then on their turn, you can banish the Overload to add a psyframe card directly from your deck that helps you counter them. And then, of course, once they're both on board, you're able to make that Lambda. So that was one of the easiest of the ways to make a Lambda. The next option, and one of the more powerful options, is Nightmare Engine. Corruptor Ibly, Orcust, and Mermaid. So again, this one's really simple. You'd play 2 or 3 copies of Corruptor Ibly and maybe 1 copy of Orcust Nightmare if you really wanted. I'm not sure why. I talked to a few people and they really liked playing this card. I'm not really sure why. I just think that playing the Nightmare Corruptor Ibly would be sufficient. So in this case, you would normal summon the Ibly. You'd link it away for the Nightmare Mermaid. You'd chain link the Mermaid, chain link 2 the Ibly, giving your opponent that Ibly and locking them into link summoning. And then you'd be able to summon the other Nightmare monster from your deck. And then you would link into Lambda. Now this one is normally really powerful because you can lock your opponent out of any summons that isn't link. So now they can't kaiju your psyframelord. They can't start summoning out other stronger monsters. The only problem with this engine right now is that one of the biggest decks is Salamangrates. And this card right here just requires 1 level 4 lower Cyburst monster. So you just gave them a level 2 Cyburst, so they're able to immediately link that away into their Balinks and begin their combos. The other big one being Guard Dragons is the next biggest link deck that we're seeing right now. We could just use this as link material immediately too, so you kind of lose some of that advantage. But it's not horrible, but still not the engine that I prefer. So the engine that I actually prefer was the only engine that I've been able to find that is a 1-card psyframelord Lambda. And that's Phantom Skyblaster. So when you summon him, you get to summon tokens up to the number of monsters you control, which will always be at least 1. So you get to summon that 1 token, link it off for a Link Spider, and then link both of those off for your Lambda. So that's 1 monster, which I play 3 of, that you can always get you to that Lambda. Now, when you're playing that Neos Connector, or that Mermaid, you have the chance of getting ashed, or if you forget to chain block, Ogre, Ash, Impermanence, stuff like that that can really affect it. Whereas with Sky Blaster, they can't ash you. They can Ogre it, they can Veiler it, they can Impermanence it, but they can't ash it. So that was one of the biggest advantages that I found with the Sky Blaster, and that's why I decided to play that one specifically. And then, of course, later in the duel, if you've still got your Lambda face up and you draw into your Neos Connector or your Ibly, you're not going to gain a whole lot of advantage by having this card in your hand. But if you draw into that Sky Blaster, you can always normal summon it, grab 2 tokens, and make a Link 3, and gain more advantage or something bigger. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I decided to play the Sky Blaster as one of the option that I chose. And then the reason why this card suddenly becomes so much better is because with their field spell and this monster, if you can open your field spell, Terraforming, the Foolish Burial Goods, and the Sky Blaster, or any combination of those cards. So the Sky Blaster would make you the Lambda. The Foolish Burial Goods can send this card from the deck to the hand to let you banish it during your opponent's turn to search the Alpha or a Delta or whatever. This would obviously get to that, and the Terraform gets you to your field spell. You can open with a significant amount of negates on the first turn. That's 3 cards out of your hand, 2 of which are semi-searchable. The other one you play 3 of and you can draw into in a million different ways. And so if you open with that Alpha, what he does is when your opponent normal or special summons a monster, you can special summon this from your hand, a driver from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and then search any Psyframe card. So you're able to look up that Delta, that Beta, the Gamma that you want, or whatever it is that you need. And then with your field spell out, you can immediately synchro with it. So this is a 1, the driver's a 6, so you get to go into a 7 immediately. And the 7s that I really like to keep my eye on is F.A. Dawn Dragster and Black Rose Dragon. These 2 are 2 extremely powerful cards in today's meta. Being able to just sit here on a free negate every turn on top of your Psyframes. And then Black Rose Dragon has a different combo with the Alpha. If you're playing from a losing position, which seems to happen an awful lot nowadays, rather than going to try and get out another negate that your opponent can play through, you can try to disrupt your opponent by just destroying everything. So what you would do is you would special summon that Alpha, you'd get your special summon your Alpha, summon your driver, and you would search that multi-threader that you play, that 1 multi-threader. Then you'd synchro into Black Rose Dragon, and when you activate Black Rose Dragon's effect, you get a discard multi-threader to save all Psyframe cards on the field. So you get to save your psy-framelord, your Overload you have face up, your field spell, or your Omega, or whatever you have, while destroying everything your opponent controls. The next couple of cards are like Borreload Savage as an 8. So one of the more powerful 8s that we have in the arsenal now that you can summon, and it's another negate that you can just sit on. When with Lambda on the field, not only do you now have that on-board negate if you grab something out of your graveyard, but now you have those hand negates that your opponent has to play through. So you get that 1 negate that's also a beat stick, and then every time you draw a card, at the rate with Lambda and your field spell on the field, your opponent knows that you've just got another negate in there. And for the rest of the 8s, you can play a Crystal Wing for another negate, so now you're looking at monsters and anything, and because of Omega and Zeta's effects, removing them from the extra monster zone, you're able to keep these spots open for the larger negates that you need, which gives you that potential to push your opponent for game. So the next thing I want to talk about are some of the draw engines that you can play in the deck. So with Psyframes not caring a whole heck of a lot about their normal summon, it leaves them open to a lot of pop potential. And the engine that I found that I like the most so far was the Spellbook engine. And it's really a simple engine to play. You have your Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, which you can normal summon, who searches you your Spellbook of Secrets, which searches you your Spellbook of Knowledge. And the more important part of the deck isn't necessarily going into Lambda, but it's getting that field spell activated. That field spell is what's going to gain you your momentum. So I do play the two copies of all of these to search out and try and draw right away. But the nice part is that if you don't hit your field spell, or if you don't get to Lambda that turn, when you send that Magician to the graveyard, it does leave your board clear so you can activate your Psyframes and trigger the field effect to summon. And So when I was building my deck, I decided that I'd be playing Pot of Duality, since summoning on your first turn, while beneficial if you can do it, isn't super necessary. So I looked to get that field spell out as quickly as you can, so you play the Terraforming, the Pot of Duality, the Alphas, and then you play the whole draw engine that just takes up that one normal summon that you don't really care too much about, because the only competing normal summon that you have is that Sky Blaster. So with today's meta, everything being around a lot of disruption and some decks losing outright with the correct disruption, you have a deck that can negate or respond to everything. So you have the Gamma for your monster effects, you have Delta for your spells. I don't have a copy of it with me, but you have the E1, I think it's pronounced Esplian, for your traps, and then you have the Beta for battle phase. And so each of these negates something respectively with monsters, effects, spells, and this one negates an attack that is declared, destroys the monster, and ends the battle phase. So with the psy-framelord lambda on the field, if your opponent declares an attack to try and beat over it, you can activate this from hand, destroy that monster, and just completely end the battle phase. Alternatively, with the field spell on board, you can discard a psy-frame monster, such as Driver, to have it gain attack equal to the monster discarded. And that boosted up to well over 3,000 attack, over 4,000 attack actually, meaning it can beat over almost anything else. So the deck's got a lot of potential with it now. Now that we finally got that OCG import, which is coming out in the Battle Pack Lights Heroes Revenge. I am tongue twisted all over the place. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the deck can do with a whole deck of hand traps that can constantly gain advantage by activating their hand traps and searching more at a later point. You're able to really control your opponent very well. I would like to see Omega go back to 2, maybe on that next ban list. You know how Konami is, them trying to upsell their new product. We might just be able to get that up to 2. And if that's the case, this deck would be significantly more powerful. Being able to resolve the Gamma or the Delta on your opponent's turn behind psy-framelord lambda, not only do you then get to pull a card out of their hand with the Omega, you negated an effect and destroyed it, and at the end phase you get to search a whole other card with that Lambda. And then you just get the abuse of Lambda and Omega every turn. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think psyframes are actually going to make it big? Are they going to be the next meta deck, maybe the next anti-meta deck? Are we going to see Rock Stun all over again, but with psyframes this time? Or do you guys think that maybe we should stick to the Card D and Yosenju engine? So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Thanks a lot.